Well, I have to say I was pleasantly surprised by Mr. Birchum. I would not say it is, I wouldn't say that it's anywhere near as good as, The Simpsons in its prime, or even The Simpsons now, or Family Guy in its prime, or Bob's Burgers, King of the Hill, all of the titans of adult animation, but I actually laughed a few times, and it was actually fairly well put together. I had very low expectations for this because Lady Ballers came out, and Lady Ballers was it. It was basically, I mean, I don't need to do a whole setup for it. Most people know what I'm talking about, but from a comedy standpoint, it was this weird thing where it was like they created the situations for humor to happen, for jokes to happen, and then jokes didn't happen. Like it would be like if you watched a like one of the old Ginger Rogers, Fred Astaire movies where like they show you the set that they're supposed to dance on and play the music, but dancing never happens. It's kind of like that. So my expectations for Mr. Birchum were extremely low, and I was expecting it to be just an absolute shit show and very tedious and difficult to watch. And then, believe it or not, they actually handle it fairly well. And, Adam Corolla is a genuine comedian, and there were a lot of other actual comedy writers and actors involved in it. But early on, they did take the Family Guy thing of doing cutaway gags. They did some of those, and it's very clear that they are joining like Brickleberry and all of these other shows that are trying to be the next Family Guy and all of that, are trying to go down that road. But very early on, they did this cutaway joke where the setup is that one of the two people involved is really bad at gambling. He's bad at picking the winners in gambling. And it shows Mr. Birchum and this other guy sitting in the stands at a horse race, on the bleachers in a horse race. And he says, hey, sorry your horse didn't win. And they show the horse being put behind a curtain so that they can shoot it, and they shoot it, and you hear the gunshot go off. And he says, well, hey, what about your bets for what was it, Best in Show, and all of that? And then you hear two more gunshots go off. So, and I thought, wait a minute, they did it. They did a comedy. They did setup and payoff. That was, it wasn't terribly brilliant or funny, but yeah, it was actually a joke. They actually had a joke there. Good. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe this will be all right. And by the way, I'm going to spoil it. By the way, it's free on Daily Wire, on the Daily Wire website. You can see it for the first episode for free. So you can just go there and come back if you want to hear my review, unspoiled. But anyway, so I thought, okay, well, we've actually got some setup. We've got some character development. We've got some interplay. This is good. And then it worked from there. And it was not solely just a vehicle to rip on wokeness. They had a couple of characters in there, one in particular, but a couple of characters that are set up to be the punching bags for that whole thing. But then they took on other things as well, like he's got a chronically online son that's a professional video game streamer, so they kind of tore into that culture a little bit, that's a fairly apolitical target, that kind of thing. So I was actually impressed at the way they set up the relationships. And Adam Carolla, I thought what was going to happen was like Adam Carolla was going to play it at 10 the entire time. And Adam Carolla, if he doesn't have dynamics, he gets really grating really fast. He needs a good, straight man to play off of. And that was part of the reason, he and Jimmy Kimmel had so much chemistry as a comedy duo on The Man Show, because he could play, Adam Carolla could play the loudmouth, asshole, and Jimmy Kimmel could play kind of his wisecracking sidekick and everything, and there's dynamic there. And Adam Carolla always works best when he's got somebody to play off of, even when it's Dr. Drew. It's just when he's got a calming presence in there to play off of. Because, you look at like Drawn Together, which I was, amazingly, I was even a fan of Drawn Together, mainly because I love Jesse Harnell, but I was a fan of Drawn Together, but Adam Carolla's character on that, Spanky Ham, was the most grating, over-the-top part of the show, because that show had no straight men. Everybody was a comedy, was a comic character, and it's just comic characters playing off of each other the whole time. It's kind of like when they talked about one of the reasons Jeff Daniels worked so well in Dumb and Dumber was because he didn't try to match Jim Carrey's energy. He just came in and played the character. It's that kind of thing. You can't have all of the characters matching each other's energy all the time. And Adam Carolla, when he doesn't have anybody to check and balance him, gets really grating. I mean, really grating in his comedy persona. I can sit and listen to him, talk in an interview or something for a while, and he's fine that way. But his comic persona gets really grating if it's not balanced properly. And honestly, I was impressed. Oh, and they replaced Candace Owens with Sage Steele, so great. Didn't have to put up with the fact that I was suffering through her. But anyway, so it was. He actually had some good characters to play off of, and some good character development. And I realized, the woke stuff, which they rip into here and there, was about part and parcel for what you would expect in like a Family Guy episode going after that stuff, or that kind of thing. Family Guy is obviously what they're trying to do. So like a Family Guy episode trying to, making fun of that stuff where it's part of a larger smorgasbord. And I never felt like Mr. Birchum himself was like and this is only talking about the first episode, I never felt like he was he was just an avatar for right-wing opinions. Like, they have a little guy on the show. He's definitely kind of your like Hank Hill level of conservative, moderate conservative, but it's not like it's not like he's a mouthpiece for a Matt Walsh type person or something. And so that actually made it very watchable. And then there were some actual laughs. I got a few laughs out of this. One was where one character says to an adult female character, she says, "How would you feel if someone covered you in white paint?" And the woman says, "If it was Jason Momoa, I would think that was great." It's like, not only did I laugh, it caught me, and I thought that was funny, but I thought, wait a minute. Holy shit. Daily Wire did a cum shot joke. That's great. And here's the thing. When I reviewed Lady Ballers, I said part of the problem is that you've got social conservatives that are politically incorrect enough to see the value in raunchy, politically incorrect humor, but they're not relaxed enough. They're too socially conservative and uptight in that to commit to that level of humor. So it just feels like they're kind of like trying to say, all through Lady Ballers, it felt like it was like, hey, that stuff we know you think is funny, but we're too uptight to give you. Remember that. Think about that while you see this scene that is a set piece for that type of humor, but never hits the mark, never attempts to hit the mark. Okay, a cum shot joke, finally, I mean, right there, and it's dirty, raunchy humor, and that's exactly what they needed to embrace. So they did it. The setup and payoff was perfect, and I thought that was great. Another joke I was impressed by. So the through line for the first episode is that Birchum, he's the shop teacher, and he's this very gruff, bitter old man, bitter middle-aged man kind of character. And the school board brings him up at a disciplinary hearing. They bring him to a disciplinary hearing, and because he's for various reasons. But he gets there, and they tell him at one point, they tell him, you're allowed to have your union rep present. And he said, I left the union, they blah 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 blah, and he, you know, rips into unions, complains about them, and then finally they go through the whole process of the disciplinary hearing, and it cuts to the next day in his kitchen, and his wife's saying, so you got off easy? He says, yep, 3 days paid suspension, thank God for the union. And that's not that funny when I say it that way, but it is funny in the context of the comic timing, the delivery, because we set it up over here, we did a bunch of miniature jokes throughout the scene, and then in the next scene we paid off on something that we did not know was being set up as a joke. And I was like, okay, this is why it works when you get actual comedy writers involved, rather than what they did with Lady Ballers, where you get your guys that host your sports show that most people did not even know was a Daily Wire show, and even people who watched it didn't know it was a Daily Wire show. You get the guys that host your sports show to hammer out a script because you had this, you know, hair up your ass idea for a wild hair up your ass idea for a sports comedy, that kind of thing. So, like I said about Lady Ballers, you know, the quality of this show is going to rise and fall on whether or not you are, whether or not they can make things outside of their ideological targets be funny. And there was just general humor throughout, just good setups and payoffs throughout. And I have to say, I'm impressed. So I had a whole, as I was driving home tonight, planning to watch it, I had a whole thing in my head about where I was going to go with, you know, what I thought it was going to end up being, and I knew what I wanted to say about that. And so I'm pleased to say I don't have to say any of that. I actually enjoyed it. I'm somebody who, I mean, I'll laugh out loud at things here and there, but I'm usually someone who appreciates, you know, the most I do is like a chuckle or something. And I actually got some out loud laughs with this, so I'm impressed. And I can honestly say, if this just ran alongside the other, you know, the other stuff we see on like Fox Sunday Animation and that kind of thing, I don't think it would seem out of place. You know, it was not like, it was not like, again, going back to their other comedy venture, Lady Ballers, where it was just like, you know, it's like, hey, you know how we all think trans athletes participating in women's sports is funny? Well, here's that, and lots of right-wing cameos. Here's Ted Cruz for some reason. You know, it was just pure fan service. That movie was just pure fan service. This did not feel like that. This felt like, yeah, you could put this next to, like I said, it's not as good as the best of adult animation out there. It's no Rick and Morty. It's no Simpsons in its prime. It's no Family Guy in its prime. But, you know, like I said, it was at least as good as Brickleberry and some of these other kind of contenders to that throne. So, yeah, I'm impressed by that. And the reason I'm interested in this is not just, you know, I commented on this, commented on some of the Daily Wire's feature films, commented even on Bentkey, and the reason I'm interested in this, even though I'm increasingly despising more and more of the hosts on Daily Wire, Matt Walsh really crossed a line with me with the things he said about that incident at Ole Miss. And by the way, not even a full week later, he defended. I should do a comment on that, but he defended another racist incident in Oxford, Mississippi, and it's just amazing. But anyway, I've been interested in seeing them get off the ground with entertainment, not particularly because I'm rooting for their success, but because I am wanting to see more and more and more successful entertainment ventures and arts ventures, independent entertainment and arts ventures taking off and being successful completely outside of the Hollywood rubric, the Hollywood landscape. Like, think about it this way. You know, before Harvey Weinstein was known for being Harvey Weinstein, the thing that he actually did, the reason he's actually noteworthy. His career contributions are actually noteworthy, above and beyond him being a depraved sex maniac that is rightly and correctly locked up in jail. But anyway, before all of that, the contribution that he and his brother actually did make was that when they made Miramax, when they made Miramax Studios, their film production studio, they made independent cinema profitable. Like before that, if you were an independent film director, your independent film, costs you $6,000. It's like Clerks with Kevin Smith. It cost you like $6,000 that you borrowed from friends, and that it was basically just a portfolio piece that you used to get work at proper major studios. Whereas now what they did was with Miramax was they actually made independent cinema profitable, and that's why Kevin Smith and Quentin Tarantino and so many other people have the careers that they have and all of that. And I bring that up to say that was back in the 80s, 90s when that happened, and the tide that opened a very important floodgate, because now you have like Neon and A24 and all these companies that are still working inside the Hollywood framework, but they are independent, releasing good independent content that, even A24 will occasionally have overtures to the the irritating Hollywood woke world and everything and that sort of thing. But it's at least submerged in a larger storytelling canvas to where it's not like, they're not just shoving it up in your face saying, see, see, see. And I bring that up because, again, A24, Neon, these companies they're doing incredible business in Hollywood now. And so I want to see the next step happen, which is companies that are delivering great cinematic content, great television content, great everything, completely cut off from the Hollywood thing. Like, I want Hollywood to be a complete forgotten dinosaur. And I think that's going to open up so many new opportunities for so many creative people and everything. I just want Hollywood to be the forgotten dinosaur that it is. And so that's why I'm rooting for things like, the Daily Wire Daily Wire's entertainment ventures to succeed above and beyond their politics, which I mostly don't agree with. I will tell you something interesting, by the way. I was thinking about this. My favorite creative thing that the Daily Wire has put out is one that you probably have never heard of, which was Smokey Mike and the God King. And you probably haven't heard of that, but it was this band that Michael Knowles and Jeremy Boring put together, or it's a duo project, and it's a musical writing and releasing original music, and they've only done 2 songs in like the last couple of years that they've been doing it. They've only released 2. One of them was a Christmas song, Christmassy song they did, but the other one was this song called Together Again. Go look up Together Again by Smokey Mike and the God King. Don't listen. I mean, it's on music streaming services. Don't listen to that version just because the producer and me didn't like some of the things about the way the production was done. There's some EQ problems in the vocals that make the vocals kind of hard to listen to. Like, you needed to put some of the harmonies in the back, and you needed to not have, I mean, I'm not criticizing Michael Knowles here. He can sing, but you needed to have him not sing every single vocal harmony. You need a couple more voices in there so that the timbres aren't clashing and everything. But that's production stuff. But go on YouTube, and there's a music video version of it that is a combination of the recorded version and a live performance version. They used audio layers from both, and that one's balanced a lot better, and you can really hear the song and the artistry of the music video. And lo and behold, it is not a right-wing thing. It is not a political thing. There's no political overtones to the song at all. It's just a song about a guy who's been on the outs with his girlfriend and he wants to get back together. And that's all it's about. And the music is very much in the veins of like a Beatles thing or like a Beach Boys kind of thing, just like a 60s well done 60s pop. And I listened to this thing and I'm like, holy shit. Not only they can write songs, they can sing, they can play their instruments, and they both play several instruments, and they play them well, which is impressive. And I was like, holy shit, this is good. And like one of the comments said it exactly right. Said this is great, but the problem is the only way we'll get a full album is if someone insults Jeremy Boring and he starts a Daily Wire music label out of spite. But it was like, good grief, this is good. And it's like, you know what? I listen to that, and I don't care that I disagree with these guys on abortion access. I don't care that I think Michael Knowles has loathsome opinions about how to handle the mental health crisis in this country. I didn't care about any of that, because all I cared about was like, damn it, god damn it, those guys are doing a damn good song. And I always say, like, even if I don't agree with your politics, if you can do something that moves me within the arts, that is so. I love that. I love to see it when people I have those radical disagreements with can produce something really stirring and really fulfilling in the arts. And that was what that was. That's what Together Again was. It's a great song. It was it's just very uplifting, wonderful piece of music, and I wish they would do more of it. I'd love to hear more of it. And it was like I posed a question to my viewers a while back about should I. There's an administrative job open at the Daily Wire that I would have been qualified for, and I asked my viewers, like, do you think I should apply for it? Which, by the way, they will not. I found out they will not hire anyone who is pro-choice, so for anything. So that cancels that their loss. Sorry, but anyway, all of that said, what I would really love to do is play guitar for Smokey Mike and the God King. Amazingly, they already have two guys that can play guitar, which is Michael Knowles and Jeremy Boring, and I had no idea. But anyway, that's cool, and I wish they would do more of that. But anyway, getting back to Mr. Birchum, though, I'm pleasantly surprised, and I don't know. I'm tempted to check out the rest of the season, which is all of it's already available streaming. I enjoyed the first episode. I'm not going to lie, and nobody grated on my nerves, and I actually laughed out loud a few times, which is saying a lot for me. So, pardon me. But, keep up that good work. And again, kudos on firing Candace Owens. I hope she leaves you alone for good.